Hello and welcome to Monkey's Paper Palooza Craft Corner. Today we are going to do something that intimidates a lot of crafters. We're going to go into foiling tips and techniques. For some, this feels like a very wasteful technique as well as sometimes a little intimidating, but it's actually a lot simpler than it looks. So iCraft, aka ThermoWeb, has beautiful foils available. These are a couple of their tubes. Then I also picked up some of the Brutus Monroe foil, and that is in the beautiful Tide Pool. And then we got some Gina K, also made by iCrafts and ThermoWeb. And this one's called Shattered Glass. Isn't that pretty? And of course, this is the green watercolor. So I wanted to show you that there's different colors, techniques, fun things you can do with it, just not basic solid foils or glitters, but also some fun brands. This one is just beautiful. Wait till you see it out of the tube. It's absolutely gorgeous. So the key to foiling for most basic foiling is, of course, toner. Now, if you have a printer that uses toner, you can print toner onto a piece of paper. But for those of us that don't, there are toner sheets. These are PeelnStick. There's also non-peel and stick toner sheets, which you can die cut and put your little foil embellishments on them. You also have these clear acetate toner sheets, and you can usually see them right through any pattern. Great way to add a little splash of color, a splash of sparkle. You can also get them in solid colors too that are not clear. So depending on your project. This one I believe is called Starry Night. Isn't that fun? So it's totally clear, but you got that star toner design on it. Gina K also has a lot of those. And this is transfer gel. Now transfer gel is a fun technique. They also have a glue pen that you can use also, as well as stuff that you can use on fabric. But for card making, this is a fun way to make cards with it, and we'll go into that next. So here I have a piece of paper, piece of cardstock. I'm going to do a stenciling over it. So the key to this, like I always tell you, put your tape underneath your piece of paper, stick it to your mat or your glass mat, and then put your stencil on top. Because you don't want to have little spots where you have to pull off, especially if you're doing the whole sheet. Luckily, this one I made big enough that I could do multiple pieces out of it. So I'm going to tape them down to the paper, and depending on what palette knife you have, either one works. You're going to spread this on there like butter. And just think, the thinner you put it on, so don't worry about going too thick with it, the quicker it's going to dry. Now it does take about an hour for the transfer gel to dry, so take that in consideration when you're making your project. Leave yourself plenty of drying time. Of course, like I said, the thinner you go, the quicker it dries. So thinner pieces will dry quicker than an hour, where your more thicker gels pieces like stencils will take a little longer to dry. And there you go. Now it goes on white onto your paper when it's wet. Now we're going to put this aside and let it dry. Once it is dry, it's going to look like this. It's going to be entirely clear, and that is what makes the transfer sheet with the stick to it. So another technique you can use with this transfer gel is you can stamp with it. Now this opens up a whole number of possibilities for you as you make things with stamps. So I'm going to take a couple here are background clings that I have. The first one is the Snowflake one that came out with the October kit, I believe. It was one of the add-ons. Now you're going to take a sponge dauber. This is the easiest way to do it. And just put some of the gel on it, and you're going to just sponge it on. And this is why I say when you stamp with it, it may dry faster because you're putting a little less of it on there, so it's not as thick. So you're just going to do it, and you can, if you have some spots that you feel are thicker, you can go back over and sponge off it and put it onto the rest of the stamp. Just spread it out. At first I thought I had done this entirely wrong when I did it the first time, and I was like, I didn't put enough on, it's not showing. you don't need a lot. It actually still will cling to it even without a lot. So then you're just going to stamp this on your paper. Push it down, put some pressure down to it. You do not have to put your magnets down if you don't want to. I will be doing one of those too, but it won't be in this clip. But I will show you it with when I foil them later on. But there, you see it's very, very faint. You can barely see it. But once it dries, we'll stick it in there and see that's what happens when it clears up. So you don't need a lot. Now clean off your stuff after you do that too. Make sure you clean it as quick as possible. Now, these are your toner sheets. This is the PeelnStick toner sheet. Now, the fun thing about these is you can die cut them and make die cuttable words with them. I'm going to use my Discover die cut words that I got. I believe, I can't remember who made it, but I have it in, I think, Discover, Explore, etc. All the fun words. So I die cut that out and I popped it out with my tool-in-one. Now I'm going to get my Scotch thermal laminator, heat it up, and you're going to cut a piece of foil for as long as you need it. Don't worry about it being too big, too long. Just make sure you don't do it in the middle of it or something like that, because you can always reuse your foil sheets, even if there's some left over after you've used it. That in there. I'm waiting for this to heat up. Sometimes laminators take a while to heat up, so make sure your laminator is ready and hot. You're going to be set to the 5mm heat setting for it. Mine should almost be ready. I'm trying to figure out the best way to laminate this. Maybe all the way to the edge so that it doesn't slide. I guess it's still waiting for it to heat. Ah, there it comes. It's starting to go now. I think I might end up moving this piece to the end because I'm afraid when I feed it in the back, because mine is a back feed, that it may not hold well. And I am going to put a cardstock shim behind this. That is a key too if you want to make sure your stuff stays straight. Cardstock shims do help you for less warping. And I'm going to feed that through there. Now my key is you can feed it through once and you're going to get a good coverage. But to make sure everything is kosher and everything's stuck, I like to feed mine twice. It doesn't hurt anything. It's not going to lessen your foil. It's not going to hurt anything on the toner. It's just making sure you've got a good coverage and everything's stuck. So doing it twice is, to me, the better choice. So I will suggest do it twice. And of course, we'll sandwich that between parchment paper. Usually your toner sheets and or your thermal papers in your foils come with parchment paper with it. But if you don't run out, there's always buy some at the store. Make your own little parchment paper sleeve to go through. So there it was at Discover in that beautiful tidal pool Brutus Monroe. And this is the Starry Night Clear Acetate. And you're going to make sure you get the section where it is printed on the top, so you actually get that on there. And I'm going to use her Radiant Red from Gina K on this, which is really fun. So I'm going to cut that down a little bit because we don't want to use a whole sheet. I mean, you can if you really want to use a whole sheet, but you don't have to. Now, another trick is if you feel like your hands are greasy and you think it's messing up your toner, just take your powder tool, just like you would do with heat embossing, and just go over it a little bit. And I need to cut that down more. I didn't cut that down enough, so I'm going to cut that down just a smidge. There are so many different vendors with foil too. Ranger makes a foil. Of course, Gina K. She makes a bunch of thermal and toner sheets, and as well as Brutus Monroe, on top of ThermoWeb and their stuff. So it's endless, different designs, different textures, different patterns, papers. And Brutus Monroe has some really pretty ones out there. If you haven't seen them before, there are some gorgeous ones out there. So I'm feeding it through here twice, just like I said. Nothing wrong with doing it more than once. It actually just makes sure you're secure and everything's on there. And there we go. You can see you can see the little imprint of it. So you just pull it back and voila. Isn't that pretty? Now you can put that on top of a Christmas card with a fun background and just have that sparkle that shines right through. Now always save your scraps too. You might notice, what did you do with that? Save these. You can reuse this as long as there's some foil on it. You can reuse it. If you have a smaller piece that you're die cutting, take out a little piece of it. If you want to use smaller segments, you can reuse them again on toner sheets. Now here is one of those transfer gel pieces I did with the stencil. It is completely dry. And for this one, I am going to use, there's the stencil I used. It was the Waverly Paisley things. And you're just, of course, going to start, like I said earlier, you just put it on there with whatever palette knife you have. Spray it like butter, make sure it's thin, and it's ready to go. So I'm going to take this beautiful watercolor design. Isn't this pretty? I showed it to you earlier and you could barely see it in the tube, but it is gorgeous. You can see where they call it the watercolor because it has these beautiful watercolor patches and shine. It doesn't sparkle, but it has some beautiful foil shine. I'm going to trim this down a little bit. Another thing, even if you have little pieces, save them. They're good for little die cuts, hearts, whatever you cut with your toner sheets, you can use those little sheets for something. So always save them. Does not end up being as wasteful as most people think it is because you can actually do a lot with the remnants. So don't ever think, oh, I used it, now I gotta throw it away. Keep them. Put them between some parchment paper and keep them. Put them back in your kit. Keep them. You can use them again for another project. There's no rhyme or reason to throw them away. Alright, so this is being fed through once. Now I'm going to feed it through a second time. And like I said, 2 times because it really just makes sure that everything's secured and stuck, set all the way. I'll put a link down below for all the supplies used as well as different vendors who sell the thermal web stuff because there's tons of them out there. And as well as for the thermal laminator so that if you guys don't have one and you want to buy one, the Scotch brand is usually one of the best ones out there that don't cost an arm and a leg. Alright, now this is the one I made with the background stamp that came in the November kit for Hero Arts. And I'm going to use the shattered glass for this. And you're going to see how pretty, how much detail you actually get with that transfer gel with the stamp. I was amazed. I thought, oh, this isn't going to work very well. It's probably going to be very messed up. But it actually is gorgeous. And you are going to love it. So we're going to set it through 2 times, like I said always. And once. For it to come through all the way. Okay. And you see how pretty that is. It did stick some, so we'll do our 2 times. There we go. Alright, so let's pull this back. You are going to love this. Now, isn't that pretty? Look at the detail you get in that foiling. Isn't that pretty? That is going to be so pretty in a background on a Christmas card. You can even ink blend around these 2 once they're set, so don't be afraid. Alright, so I also did one with the Snowflake one that came as an add-on for the October kit. So I'm going to send that through now because I want to show you how pretty that came out too. Now, just think of the possibilities. What stamps do you have in your collection? What could you do things with this transfer gel? What backgrounds could you make with this? like I said, possibilities are endless. So don't be afraid to have fun with it. And the transfer gel is not very expensive. You can get it from anywhere from $5 to $9 a bottle, depending where you buy it, what sale you hit. And look at that. Isn't that pretty? Look at that. Just once again, look at all that pretty detail. And I did it in the same shattered glass. And the fun thing about this one too is you get a 3D effect with that one. This, of course, you get less of a 3D effect. And there you go. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? Now look at that. Wouldn't that be pretty on a background on a Christmas card? It is so pretty. So have fun with it. Now I want to show you a trick on how to use your remnants. Now, like I said, save them. You can do projects. So I cut some toner sheet. I didn't use the peel and stick. I used regular toner sheet. And I'm going to send this through twice. This is the leftover from my Paisley design with the green watercolor foil. I'm going to use it on this. So I sent it through my second time, through onto the toner sheet. And look at that. That alone is really pretty. You could leave it like that. But I want to show you a little trick too. You can foil on top of foil. And it won't stick to your other foil design. It will only stick to the toner. So here's another possibility. You can do this twice. And you can use your scraps. And yes, you will make another scrap, but then you can use that again also. So, like I said, possibilities are endless. You could take some of your clear transfer gel and smear that on some cardstock and just use that on top of it. It goes on clear, it makes it gel. You could glitterize it, you can do whatever you want. I've seen people even use the complete transfer paper and foil with some spray adhesive and make some beautiful cards with it that way too. There, now you got both of them on there and it double layered it. Isn't that fun? And it filled in only the spots that toner. And then you can save this piece and use that one again. So another way to use your scraps. So like I said, don't throw them away. Don't think that's the end all when you're done this, because you can still have some uses of this. And I just used a basic toner sheet. This is one that you can put like foam behind it and 3D mount. And this is what you can do with this. So look at all these possibilities. These were done with the transfer gel and some foil sheets. Pretty, huh? Gorgeous stuff. This, you get that fun effect with all the little fine details. Same thing with this one. All the little fine details of the snowflakes are there. And then you get the stenciled look. Look at that shattered glass on that. Isn't that pretty? Then you get, like I said, you get this stenciled. These are really fun. It foils on top of it. You get a little 3D effect with it. You get some texture. It's just fantastic. So don't be afraid of this. This is really fun medium to use. Like I said, anywhere from $5 to $10, depending on where you buy it. And it goes a long way. You can even, like I said, put it on some plain sheets and use it with your scraps and get a beautiful design with that too, I'm sure. So another one is these clear acetate foil mates. Gina K makes tons of foil mates that you can use. This is just one through Thermoweb that I got. Isn't that pretty? And it's in a clear acetate. Some of them are just plain paper with it on there, so you get different options with that. These toner sheets are very versatile. You can die cut it, use it for whatever you want. There's the peel and stick, like I said. You get little parts of it that you can peel off the adhesive backing, and you get a stickable, almost sticker. And that's what I did with this one. You got that. Or you have the ones without stick where you can do 3D mounting and all kinds of fun stuff. But look at it. Like I could literally, this is now a sticker. I can literally stick this on a card and have a beautiful foiled Discover. Isn't that fun? So don't let these discourage you. If you have a thermal laminator, have fun with it. If not, watch the next video. And I'm going to show you how to use foils without a thermal laminator because you can even use these without it. So there's so many possibilities of foils. Do not be intimidated by them. It's actually more fun than intimidation. So if you like this video, please check out the last uploaded video, as well as one specially curated just for you. And like always, we ask you to click this icon to ring, get notifications, as well as subscribe, and check out our Facebook and Instagram pages for fun projects and games, as well as our website for email updates.